and welcome back to the Nasty Metal Production Grid YouTube, and welcome to another Friday review. And today I am here to review Patient number 9, which is of course the 13th studio album from the Prince of Darkness himself, Ozzy Osbourne, which is the follow-up to 2020's Ordinary Man. Now, this was released through Epic Records on September 9th. So, since I already reviewed Ordinary Man on this channel when it was, a brand new release in 2020, that was 2 years ago, let me get into my thoughts on Patient number 9 from Ozzy Osbourne. Let's get into it. So, before I really get into my thoughts on Patient number 9, you know what I have to do? I have to do a track listing rundown so I can tell you folks where the songs are on this album, how many songs are on this album, and what is the time length for this album. Since we pretty much have, 13 tracks here, it all clocks in at the length of 61 minutes and 10 seconds. Definitely much more longer than 2020's Ordinary Man. So these 13 tracks are beginning with the title track for the album, Immortal, Parasite, No Escape From Now, One of Those Days, 1,000 Shades, Mr. Darkness, Nothing Feels Right, Evil Shuffle, Degradation Rules. Yeah, I guess that's for some reason I had a little bit of a difficulty pronouncing that, especially in such a fast pace. Yeah, so Degradation Rules, Dead and Gone, excuse me. God Only Knows, and then finally ending with Dark Side Blues. So a little bit of mistakes there, but you know what? Nothing can't be perfect on this channel. So there you go. I did my best on reading you pretty much 13 tracks on Patient number 9. So, if you remember my thoughts on Ordinary Man, then you probably would know already that I wasn't huge. I just wasn't so warm on Ordinary Man in a way. I definitely felt more cold towards it. With this one, you'll be a little bit at times, maybe a little bit surprised at times, maybe of my thoughts of Patient number 9, but at the same time, you're definitely going to get that I'm still not going to be nearly as high on this one, but it's definitely going to be more positive. One of the big positive things about Patient number 9 is that this album doesn't make you want to defecate. So yeah, it's not making anyone defecate, but however, there's plenty of claustrophobia on this album. Whatever. But there's definitely plenty of positives on this one. But we'll definitely get into the claustrophobia part of Patient number 9. So, I'm definitely going to get the positives out of the way. But I should definitely run through the guests on this one. There's at least plenty of guests on this one. Jeff Beck, of course, who provides at least solos. And definitely some guitar parts, especially rhythm parts as well. I guess to some of this, even though Andrew Watt definitely provides the majority of the rhythm tracks to this album, besides just producing it, which again, obviously Ozzy Osbourne decided to partner up with Andrew Watt since 2020's Ordinary Man. But he definitely provides more rhythm tracks here, but there's at least a couple of stuff. I mean, Zakk Wylde actually does provide also plenty of rhythm tracks or guitar parts to the majority of the songs on this album as well, besides the solos that he at least stuff he had in hand and kind of writing here and there, but mostly solo-wise, which, again, I'll get to those, but Zakk Wylde does provide also some other guitar parts to the majority of the record, just except for songs like No Escape From Now, One of Those Days, Degradation Rules, and Dark Side Blues. Which I definitely should point out that Dark Side Blues is pretty much it's a repeat of, a track called Dark Side Blues off of Ordinary Man. It's basically the same track. So somehow it's just a different version of it, but I'll get into that at some point. I'll get into that here into the review. but I'm definitely going to speed this up. So Jeff Beck, of course, provides stuff to at least 2 songs on there, that being the title track and 1,000 Shades. Mike McCready of Pearl Jam provides at least a solo here and there to the song Immortal. Zakk Wylde, of course, provides at least solos to at least 4 songs on this album, that being Parasite, Mr. Darkness, Nothing Feels Right, and Evil Shuffle. Tony Iommi, of course, we all know the history between Tony Iommi and Ozzy Osbourne. Obviously, it should be self-explanatory. Tony Iommi, of course, provides at least the majority of the rhythm tracks and guitar solos to, of course, No Escape From Now, but he also does plenty of solos and some rhythm tracks too, of course, as well. The other song and the final song that he has on this sound, that being Degradation Rules. So there we go, 2 songs for Tony Iommi. And of course, I know Josh Homme, of course, of Kyuss, Queens of the Stone Age, and Eagles of Death Metal, at least provides at least rhythm tracks. We could provide guitar solos as well, but it's to at least 1 song on the album, that being God Only Knows. Apparently, Dave Navarro gets credit on this one. Again, if you don't know who he is best known for being in bands like Jane's Addiction and, of course, the Red Hot Chili Peppers. But he gets credit for God Only Knows, but looking into the booklet for Patient Number 9, I think that might be a lie. I don't know where he comes in. I don't know. I'm reading this on Wikipedia, but looking into the booklet of it, especially provided at least from my brother for this occasion to listen to it, because I didn't buy it. I didn't buy it. But he doesn't get. I don't see his name pop up in the booklet. Maybe I'm just not reading right, or I don't know, but he's not credited in the guitar portion, at least where it would be where guitar is, where they list the names next to. I don't see Dave Navarro's name there, so there might be a mistake on somebody's behalf, or unless he does provide it, but he's not getting the credit. So I don't know. Something's weird there. So that's about it. Other information is that the late Taylor Hawkins, of course, of Foo Fighters fame, definitely does some drum tracks on some of this album. I didn't want to go into just looking through every single song. I just want just that he gets stuff on here. Of course, Chad Smith. I don't know who the hell he's really from. Anyways, I could have looked, but at this point, my patience level is just a little bit on 0. So I just decide, you know what, fuck it, I don't care. But somebody might end up bringing up what band he is if they actually follow anything that he's involved with. And of course, Rob the Hulu, of course, Duff McKagan and Chris Chaney provides plenty of place. However, Andrew Watt does provide drum tracks as well as bass tracks to some of these songs as well on the album. So there you go. And of course, I also forgot to mention that Eric Clapton actually provides at least both rhythm and guitar solo-wise to at least the song that he's credited for, that being One of Those Days. There you go. That's it. Now, let's finally get into what I find to be the positives of this album. One of the big positives for me with Patient Number 9 that I think puts it over, at least puts me over with then like Ordinary Man. At least it puts it over Ordinary Man is what I'm trying to get at. Is that I think there's a bit more memorability on this one than compared to Ordinary Man. I gave this one a few listens, and within those few listens, I definitely felt like I think that was enough I can give to Patient Number 9. But after listening, especially through days, at least without listening to it, again, there are plenty of songs that just kept up popping in my head. Very much different from from my overall initial reaction, or at least my impression of Ordinary Man was in 2020. I know that Patient Number 9 was actually being recorded, or at least being written, pretty much just a month or two after the release of Ordinary Man. So yeah, that's how long this album had been in production. Of course, health issues and so on. but still, he was, again, it is definitely another positive is that Ozzy was still able to get this album out, given all the setbacks and everything that he was able to. So obviously, there's a resilience to of course, the Prince of Darkness. But again, the positives, it's a little more memorable. There's some really good guitar solos. I think, and the songs, I think, are definitely a bit more thought out compared to the stuff on Ordinary Man. Now, I'm not going to say or brag about or whatever that this is probably the second coming of like Diary of a Madman or Blizzard of Oz or even to an extent maybe Bark at the Moon or even No More Tears. It's not the second coming of some of the great Ozzy solo records, but it's definitely a more coherent and more thought out record than Ordinary Man was. Again, I dig the title track, which again, of the ones with Jeff Beck that he provides to the album, I think Patient Number 9 is my favorite of the two. 1,000 Shades is a fine song too. Definitely plenty of good emotion. Of course, Jeff Beck, very good guitar. Of course, obviously a legend within the, at least within rock and roll, he's a legend, okay? And he's, again, I'm definitely a fan of his, more of a fan of Jeff Beck's than I am, let's say, like his friend Eric Clapton, but that's just me, and I've yet to get to Eric Clapton's contribution to Patient Number 9 here and what I think of that track. But at least of the ones with Jeff Beck, I would definitely give it the edge to the title track. It's definitely the best one. It's also the longest one on the album, because this song at least clocks in at the length of 7 minutes and 21 seconds. Really something. But it's probably the best on the album for me as far as the ones that Jeff Beck at least contributes to. It's a good track, nonetheless, and probably one of the better ones on the album for me. From there on in, we'll get into, of course, Immortal, which, of course, is the only one with Pearl Jam's Mike McCready. Surprisingly, I actually dig this track. For some reason, Andrew Watt's guitar effects on this one, I think it is the one that, cause when he was probably coming up with this song, he probably thought of Pearl Jam in mind when trying to come up with the guitar effects of this one, but for some reason, it ends up sounding almost like the guitar effects that was provided on One Up the B-side from at least the Bark at the Moon album. It's really weird how that turned out. Now, it's not like anywhere close to the very catchiness and the energeticness of like One Up the B-side, but it just has a very similar effect going on. And that's the weird thing I get from this track. But it is one of the songs I also dig off this one. Again, another positive into this one here. So I guess in a way, two good tracks in a row here. Then of course, obviously, I'm definitely gonna go on record here and say that the two songs with Tony Iommi on here are probably easily the best ones on here. However, I'm gonna give even more of the edge to No Escape From Now. This might be in a long time probably one of the best Ozzy solo songs. But however, I am not gonna agree with Ozzy's opinion that he wished that he had wrote this song or at least had this song during the Black Sabbath 13th album. I'm not going to agree with that because I think this is it. The one thing I can knock this one is that it sounds like almost every single song off of 13. It sounds like a complete leftover from those sessions. But as far being a part of this album right here, it's definitely one of the best songs that I think Patient Number 9 at least brings to the table. It's one of the best songs on the album and probably the best on the album for me, but I have yet to get to my second absolute favorite song that Patient Number 9 gave me. But No Escape From Now is easily one of the best songs off this one, and it's definitely a winner for me. But at the same time, it probably just sounds more like generic leftover material from 13. But that's just personally me. But as an Ozzy song, it's good. But as a Black Sabbath song, it kind of feels a little bit pedestrian. But that I'm just going to end there. That's only my little knocks I can give No Escape From Now. The track that Eric Clapton contributes, One of Those Days. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I am not one to gush over Eric Clapton. Even though I do dig his stuff he did with like Cream, Blind Faith, and all of that, I dig those. But as far as when it comes to his solo stuff, he is the very definition of what I actually consider bed crooning blues, or at least bed crooner blues, is what I actually had it named. Which again, the reason I know normally you hear the term like like couch crooner, However, I'm just gonna say bed crooner, and that's what I'm giving Eric Clapton. His solo stuff is the definition of what I call bed crooner blues, because of if I'm gonna put on any record that I feel like I want to go to sleep to, I'll probably I'm never gonna pick an Eric Clapton record at all. I don't even own any Eric Clapton solo record, but if I did, and I felt like throwing on an album on that I can go to bed to, it would be his. So therefore, he is the definition of what I call bed crooner blues. And of course, this year, I definitely gave a lot of my thoughts, or at least I definitely gave my thoughts about Eric Clapton this year, since he didn't really do any favors to himself. He definitely proved himself to be a grade A asshole this year. I'm not going to get into any of that reasons. Poor German lady. Either way, besides all of that, I'm going to give it to him with One of Those Days. This might be the most listenable thing I think I've heard Eric Clapton provide in years with this track. It's the most easiest thing I have heard from Eric Clapton. It's the most easiest thing I can listen to that has his fucking name on it. That is at least post Cream and Blind Faith. So there you go. I actually like a modern Eric Clapton track, and it involves Ozzy Osbourne. So what would you know, huh? So there goes. If we move on, of the stuff with Zakk Wylde on the album, I think personally my absolute favorite is Mr. Darkness. This is probably easily my favorite of the four that Zakk Wylde provides. Nothing really bad with, let's say, like Nothing Feels Right or Evil Shuffle. Those are fine songs too. I could probably say that Evil Shuffle might be the second best of the songs that Zakk Wylde really contributes to, as far as solo-wise and whatnot. But to me, Mr. Darkness is easily the best. Only thing I can knock it is that it's got a hokey little ending, which is basically Ozzy just referring, "You don't even know my name, you asshole." Yes, it's Ozzy's little goofiness. He's definitely, obviously he's a goofy son of a bitch as a person. He's goddamn hilarious. But, again, it's definitely Ozzy being Ozzy. But at the same time, I probably would have lived without it. But I think because of it kind of takes away the sort of really almost heaviness that this song provides. It's probably, along with No Escape From Now, it's probably two of the best songs off the album for me. I really dig Mr. Darkness. It's this one and No Escape From Now that are easily the best songs off of this one. But it's a very good track. Nonetheless, so there we go. That's about my overall opinion, at least positive, and favorites that I can give you from as far as when it comes to Patient Number 9. It's really some of the best ones I can think of this album. The negatives, as far as negative songs, Parasite's a complete throwaway track. It's probably the one song with Zakk Wylde on the album that just sounds like absolute shit to me. This is just the absolute definition of just throwaway songs. Even like Dead and Gone and God Only Knows, to me, even sound like throwaway songs. It's like the minute Degradation Rules, that's pretty much where I just decide I'm just gonna stop the disc right there, because everything else afterwards is just filler. It's just filler. They feel more like bonus tracks than really actual album songs. They just are like complete filler, especially Dark Side Blues. It's just, again, it's the same track as the one off of Ordinary Man. It's just made slightly better next, I guess, to say it's much more brighter sounding, but it's the same exact song, and it's another the absolute definition of what filler track is. It's just, I can understand if you throw on this version as like an interesting track to like an anthology disc, because of it's like if you're trying to throw in like that might be unreleased stuff, it might be interesting, but as far as an actual album track, it's just filler. It's filler, and right then and there, that's pretty much where I'm like, you know what, this is where the disc just should have ended. Actually, again, it should have ended after track number 10. If it was just those 10 songs, this probably would have been an even, I probably would have bumped, I've yet to get to my rating portion for the video, because that's pretty much where the end of the video is, but I'm just going to tell you now, if it had stopped at track number 10, I think my rating would have been just a little bit more higher. But with these 3 extra songs, it's just filler. And I think to where it's like I kind of really give more of my knock to this album. Which now I actually get to my biggest knock on the album. That, of course, is all in one man. That being Andrew Watt. Of all the people that I think that Ozzy Osbourne has ever got together with, Andrew Watt might be the single worst one he has ever paired up with. I do not like his guitar tone, especially his rhythm tracks. It's just, I don't like his tone. It just sounds way too, I guess you could say, way too modern day poppy sound. It's like he's probably trying to go for a stoner doom sound with this tone, but it just, because of his production style and his mixing style, it just doesn't work for me. It's just probably the most negative thing I can say about Patient Number 9. It's the same thing I had towards even Ordinary Man. It's just that I don't like his tone, I don't like his production. It really, this is where I feel like, where I talked about claustrophobia, where I made that reference. It comes down to the production. Probably even the single worst producer. For some reason, Ordinary Man actually sounded better. That's one thing I can kind of give to Ordinary Man, is that I think the production was slightly better. This one, it's even worse. The production here is worse than Ordinary Man. And again, I didn't really care for the production anyways to Ordinary Man. But Patient Number 9 right here has the worst production of any sort of Ozzy record. I've seen some people say that as far as 80s, or like production, 80s, 80s value production, people will say that Blizzard of Oz was the worst sounding record. I don't know what, I guess some people just, to their ears, they probably would think that this would sound better because of it's much more better produced, it's more modern. Whatever, I think that's bullshit. I think that's just an excuse as because of the technology in the 80s was more primitive than compared to today. Snobs. Well, guess what? I'm a snob, and I'm just going to say that this is the worst Ozzy produced record. It's just like so claustrophobia. Because it makes me, when I'm putting this, when listening to this, I'm like, either I've got the volume so low, and even then, it's like, it just sounds like it rumbles. Like, there's just no space at all to any of the mixing, the guitars and everything. It's like, everything's just squished together, and I feel like, I feel like a patient. I don't feel like Patient Number 9, I feel like Patient Number 0 when listening to this, because of the fucking production is so goddamn bad. This is why I think Andrew Watt might be the single worst producer I think Ozzy has ever had. Period. I know he'll probably give guys, Ron Nevison for like Ultimate Sin is probably one of the worst producers he had. But compared to someone like, goddamn, what's his name? Max Norman, the guy who produced, of course, he had a hand in Blizzard of Oz, but his production really was more felt on like Diary of a Madman and Bark at the Moon. Though, actually, I think the remix version of Bark at the Moon is actually the best sounding one. I committed blasphemy saying that. Oh boy. But no, I think the original mix of Bark at the Moon was shit too, but at least it's just more, it sounded more underproduced. This sound right here is like overproduced and it's shit. So it's just an overproduced turd in terms of the production. It's just, again, I feel claustrophobic while listening to this record. Even when I know the songs are at times better than some of the songs off of Ordinary Man, the production does these songs no favor, and I think it would favored better from a different guy. So, I hope this is probably the last Ozzy record, because I don't know if I can take any other record with Andrew Watt producing it. So there you go. I probably have my new favorite my new favorite producer to shit on this channel. There we go. That's pretty much, though, as just negatives that I got for this one is just filler songs and Andrew Watt. That's pretty much that's my negatives for patient number 9. So there you go. So that's it, folks. There's my overall thoughts on patient number 9. I know this went pretty long, but you know, that's what it happens, at least whenever every time I review any modern record from a classic artist. Somehow I just have a little trouble speaking today for some reason. But let me get into my overall rating so I can kind of end this video out as fast as possible. I'm giving it a 7.30, which is a much more higher rating than what I gave Ordinary Man. I gave at least Ordinary Man a 6. So the 7, to me, is at least for effort. The 0.30 is obviously for the filler and Andrew Watt. The 30, yes, the 30% is basically for the negative aspects of this record. The 7 is at least for a bit more effort. The 0.30, obviously for the negative parts, that being filler songs and Andrew Watt. So there we go. That's where I'm going to end things. I know all of you probably have listened to patient number 9. I know all of you probably have different opinions than mine, and I'm fine with that. So if they are positive or negative, you can leave them in the comment section below. So until then, this is Henry Thrasher saying I'm out, and I'll see you all later. Take care, everyone.